Last night will be remembered as Game 7 and the end of this year's championship round. It also may be remembered as the beginning of a dynasty in the NBA. That's not impossible. A23, please. The Oklahoma City Thunder are the second youngest championship team in the shot clock era when you weigh it by the number of minutes that their players played in the postseason. But I want you to look carefully at this screen. The only younger team was the Bill Walton Trailblazers. But look what all the other years are on here. We're going back, the most recent team on this screen was 45 years ago. So the point I'm making is, in what we would consider, Wendy, to be the modern era of the NBA, this is by a wide margin the youngest team to win the championship. So it is worth saying, OKC, they break through. The last time this franchise won a championship, they were the Seattle Supersonics. Do you think that we saw the beginning, just the beginning, of what this group is capable of?
Quite possibly. Last night was the 7th consecutive year we've had a different champion. That's never happened in NBA history where we've had different champions every single year. It is very much the age of parity. But does it happen on the verge of a new team, a new dynasty coming over? Because guess what? 1 week from today, the new league year rolls over. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, Chet Holmgren, and Jalen Williams are all in position in the next few weeks to sign long-term contract extensions, locking themselves in. This team has stored up a bunch of draft picks because, yes, I don't believe they'll be able to keep all these supporting players under the new rules, but they will be able to continue to draft. Guys, they've got the number 15 pick in this draft on Wednesday, and they have a player that sat out, Nikola Topic, who had a torn ACL last year. He is going to come in and probably immediately join the rotation. They were able to use a pick on him last year because they knew they didn't need him this season. So this team is set up. Now, nothing is guaranteed, obviously, but we have not seen a team set up with players under controllable contracts like this since the Warriors back when they won a decade ago.
Just think about how masterful Sam Presti has been with the amount of first-round picks they still have, with the amount of cap space they still have, and in fact, he's going to lock in these 3 players. But I will say, with so much player movement, I'm not sure this is a dynasty yet. I still think there's some big questions for them. Scoring, having scoring droughts, right? Obviously, SGA, a guy double-digit assists in games 2, 5, and 7, in which they played their best, but their offense still becomes stagnant. And one of the things that makes this team so good is their depth that they have defensively with some of those pieces. Alex Caruso made critical threes last night. Lou Dort made some buckets, great defensive players. I'm not sure you can maintain that depth over and over. This feels like a special team.
The challenge, of course, and three-point shooting to me is if you're going to find an area of weakness, because when they make their threes, they're almost impossible to beat. That third quarter, they made 3 straight threes, and they kind of ran from there. But what the great front offices can do, what Wendy said, you've got your 3 main pieces. It's similar to one of the teams on that list, the early 80s Lakers. And you had 3 young players that you could build with and go forward with, and that's all you need. And the smart GMs know how to take the peripheral pieces and just keep replacing them. You saw that in Golden State. San Antonio, for many years, they had their middle, they had their core, but they just kept fixing or changing the pieces out around them that extended what was now, a 15-year run of winning championships and being an elite team. And that's what I think, that's why I call them Spursy. I think the Thunder are more on that plane than they are just a quick meteor or 2, 3 in a row.
A little later in this hour, we're going to get into the fact that the team that finished second in the Western Conference this year added Kevin Durant yesterday. So I guess that is worth throwing into the conversation about whether or not this is the beginning of a dynasty. But how do you see it, Markieff, when you look at this young team, a team that many, including you, and there's no secrets here, you wondered, you questioned whether or not they were ready to do it because of their youth and inexperience. Now that they've gotten this thing under their belt, champions usually expand a little bit on at least that level, particularly the young ones like this. Do they look like something special for the next half decade or so?
Definitely look like something special, and the unique thing about them is that they have so much flexibility in the front office with Sam Presti and the way they set this team up, right? The best thing is they can continue to grow. Like, you don't know what the other teams are going to look like next year with all the movement in free agency, but you know what this team is going to look like. They get a chance to be better defensively. They get a chance to expand their offensive game. So I'm excited for this team, man. I honestly think that, it could be a start of a dynasty with the way the flexibility they have in this team. They lock up those top 3 guys. You have Alex Caruso for a couple more years. You have the big fella for a couple more years. So you're really in prime position to make another run at it. without losing your flexibility like a lot of these teams will have to.
They're so young. Wendy, I'm laughing because I was reminded of something you told us when we saw the champagne celebration in the locker room.
Alex Caruso had to teach them how to open the champagne bottles. They didn't know how. Jalen Williams
Look at him
had
in the
never
corner.
tasted champagne before.
Look at
He's
the-
never had it. This was the first moment Jalen Williams ever had champagne, was celebrating an NBA championship. That's
He's
something you
only
don't
been
see
old
much.
enough for like a year.
Caruso said he finally got a real one, not one in the bubble.
What were you saying? Wendy, go ahead.
Yeah,
He said it. I didn't say it. He said it. I didn't say it. He said it. He's quoted saying it, not me.
Hey,
Why you
see,
starting
can't
trouble?
do it
No,
like
I'm
that,
saying
bro.
what Alex said, not me.
Why-
Yeah.
Go ahead, Keith.
Come on, AC, man. Why you got to do us like that, man? Come on, man.
No, the
Come
bubble
on,
championship,
man.
I've always said it should count twice.
Yes, I agree.
The circumstances were ridiculous, but let's not get ourselves sidetracked there. It is a good indication, and Alan, you were starting to say, of just how ridiculously young this group is.
Yeah, you saw Chet Holmgren couldn't figure out how to open the bottle to a point where he was trying to open it on the side of a table.
Like
No,
it's
that's a beer
can.
beer cap. That
Yeah,
is not
a bottle cap,
champagne,
yeah.
right? But it does give you that indication. But it also shows you, to me, this breaking through like they did this year as a young team. Remember, last year they had to go through the heartbreak of a loss on the way. Breaking through this year almost gives them that confidence now of, okay, now you've done it. Confidence comes from demonstrated performance. They have now done it now. That almost makes them even more dangerous with the fact that the belief now, the questions of whether they can, that's been answered.
Also, just for the record, Chet Holmgren sat out for a year.
Yep.
Like think about that vision, that foresight by Sam Presti.
How many franchises can
Right.
do things like that?
And by the way, the upside for him, you're still watching him sometimes find his way offensively with spots on the floor, but defensively, he alters so many shots at the rim. So the ceiling for him is super high.
Oh, yeah.
And he hasn't even begun to touch the surface of that.
You're saying he's going to become a much better player.
1,000,000%.
There's a lot.
I feel like this organization's in a good spot. They've obviously done it in the past, so I think they know what it takes and they know how to do it, and it's only a matter of time.
The Oklahoma City Thunder are going back to the NBA Finals.
I want to win the NBA championship, like it's always about winning for me.
One of the greatest regular seasons in NBA history. And now, for the first time, the NBA champion resides in Oklahoma City.
We did what it took this year to be champions, and we deserve this. We rose to the moment, and here we are.
Running out of ways to describe how good SGA's season was. You see there, he scored 3,172 points, including the playoffs. The last player to score more was Michael Jeffrey Jordan in the 92-93 season, a time in which I would suggest, I think that was exactly when he was at his very best. The very best Michael Jordan ever was. Maybe the very best any basketball player ever was Michael Jordan in 92-93. SGA has scored more points this year than any player since him. And you were making an interesting point about what he may cement with this.
Yeah, I mean, we showed the stat earlier that he had the same number of points and assist thresholds that LeBron had in 2018. I think LeBron's 2018 playoffs were his peak of his powers in 2018. So compared to that, you look at the trophies, scoring title, Western Conference Finals MVP, which is not nothing, Finals MVP, regular season MVP, that is a career's worth of hardware, and the NBA championship in 1 year. That's a Hall of Fame resume. He will be a Hall of Famer. Number 2 will never be worn again by anybody else in Oklahoma City. It will be up in the rafters with the championship banner. That was all cemented in this last few months.
He and Jalen Williams and Chet Holmgren are 26, 24, and 23 years old. They are by a significant margin the youngest team to win the NBA championship in the last 45 years. Markeith, did we see the end of a season and the beginning of a dynasty last night?
I think so, man. Obviously, everything has to go in place for these guys, but the age of these guys makes them that good, right? Winning at this age, winning at that level, right? Because there's always room for improvement. You literally have 8 to 9 guys that can get better. These guys haven't even reached their peak yet, man. That's the scary thing about them. That's why I would say, a dynasty. In these last 2 years, they've had good regular season, right? And now they know what it takes to get over the hump. That's the biggest thing when you look at a team and you call it a dynasty. The biggest thing is winning a championship first, knowing what it takes to get there, and improving year in and year out. And the way that these guys are set up with the age, with their big three, they're in run to be a great team over the next 5 to 7 years.
If
not more.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I think you can make the correlation to the Philadelphia Eagles winning a Super Bowl, right? Like, think about the similarities between the two teams. You have two quiet leading assassins in Jalen Hurts and SGA, right? Guys that do it the right way, don't give the media all the things that they take. And then you have two architects of culture over hype. When you think about Howie Roseman and then Sam Presti, right? They have draft collateral that it's like, hey, we don't want to pay a lot of superstars. We want homegrown individuals that we can build through the right culture. And there's no I in team, even though occasionally there can be a me for certain times in games if you want to mess up the words. But it's system over individuals, and I think that's what we've seen in the last two championships, Super Bowl and NBA
It's
championship.
an interesting way of looking at it. I mean, Shanae, are they for the foreseeable future? And again, understanding what your hometown is and what the Rockets did yesterday, are the Thunder the favorites for the foreseeable future in the NBA?
I have no problem saying that they're the favorites, but I do think you mentioned the last 2 seasons. I'm going to bring up the last 10. The Thunder, the Celtics, the Nuggets, the Warriors, the Bucks, the Lakers, the Raptors. We've had different championships, champions for the last 8 or so years. And to me, I think it's hard. It's so hard to repeat. So as great as they are, I mean, we're looking at a West that could be reloaded. We're looking at a couple of stars that have realigned. So like, I really appreciate what they've done this season, but I know that the path is going to be so much harder moving forward. Again, the last 7 NBA champions, all different squads. Could this team be the one to repeat, maybe based off of the
Forget about
continuity?
repeat. None of those teams made it past the second round.
The following year, yeah.
It's insane.
Can I throw one thing
Another
in?
thing,
Can I just throw one thing in? So I was on the road with the NBA with you guys. The year Golden State won it, the year Denver won it. I was sitting right there having this conversation about the Warriors. Oh, they've got these young players coming up who are going to, support Steph and Clay and those guys. The Warriors are just getting started, haven't been back. The next year I was there, Jokic and Murray, Denver. Oh, they're going to kill everybody. No one can play with these guys. Haven't been back. Then last year, the Celtics. Oh my goodness.
They were the
Who can
favorites
even
all
play
year.
with
They were
these guys?
favorites all year this
All
year.
season long, even though they never had the best record. Oh, no one can play with these guys. Didn't make it back. So the best laid plans of mice and men in the NBA don't usually come to fruition.
Yes, and I would say that the big thing with the Thunder is that they're in a Western Conference that is absolutely loaded.
Right.
And there's a Kevin Durant trade. He does not go to the Eastern Conference. So getting back is going to require 12 victories in the Western Conference playoffs, and it's going to be very, very difficult. And that's something that you have to compute when you look at that as well.
Yeah, and we thought the margin of the NBA Finals was great, like the margin in height between me and Greeny. Great. But honestly, it was like me and Jay Will, like a little bit smaller of a margin. Okay, I heard you keep laughing in the back. But my point is, if there's going to be one team to come out of the West and do it again, I do believe it's this squad because their big three has showed up in the biggest ways. J-Dub's sensational. I came into the series saying there's only one unguardable player in SGA on the Thunder. No, I felt like after maybe 3 or 4 or 5 games, I was like, oh, this guy went from 17 to 19 to 26 to 27 to 40 piece, and then he graduated in real time. Chet Holmgren, 18 points, huge, but also hugely impactful defensively, like that defensive rim protector. So I look at him like, oh, they have a good runway, but it is going to be hard in the West.
And that conversation is right now. This week we have the draft, and in July we have free agents. There's a lot of moving parts that are about to come.
I'm so sorry, Greeny.
No, that's okay. Markeith had the smile of the only person in the conversation taller than she. Yeah, you're just sitting there like, you guys can say whatever you want. And the old expression was, go
Can I
west,
say
young
one
man.
thing?
Well, go ahead, Keith.
And I just want to give Thunder a shout out, right? Because not only did they win the championship, I played there for a half a season, right? And the structure they have for these guys to get better and to have everything that they need to get better daily is top notch. Best place I've been when it comes to medical staff, when it comes to player development, when it comes to everything you need to get better, the Thunder have. So that's one of the reasons why I also think that there will be a dynasty because of the structure they have in their organization to
During
get these
the
guys
finals,
better.
they began tearing down the building next door because the new arena, they're building a new arena as well. They're going to have a brand new arena to also help put this thing together.
And who knows, maybe they'll have the NBA Finals in it again next year. Let me pause briefly on that, though.
How's it going, everybody? Villa Sports Network here. Just want to thank you guys for your support on the channel. Thank you guys for watching the video. Hope y'all enjoyed it. Also want to kind of remind you to don't forget to leave a like on the video, subscribe to the channel, and leave a comment on the video if you like as well. But regardless of the fact, thank you again for your support, and hope to see you on the next video.